the average golfer on the PGA and LPGA tours, they are hitting the golf ball further than they were just a few years ago. How are they doing that? Well, I'm going to share with you one secret tip that even an average golfer can do that can help you increase your club head speed. I'm PGA teaching professional Todd Kolb, Director of Instruction for US Golf TV and the Sanford Power Golf Academy. And what we're going to talk about here today has to do with the movement of your hands and how this little change, this little adjustment can help you increase your club head speed. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So here's the first thing I want you to realize is that all things being equal. Now, anytime we're talking about golf tips and suggestions and stuff like that, you hear me use the phrase a lot of all things being equal. And what I mean by that is that if we start changing one thing, everything else changes. So today, though, I want to talk with you specifically about the position of the hands. Now, here's what you got to know, is that in general, that the further away I can get my hands from the ball, okay, still assuming I can hit the ball in the center of the club face, the further the ball is going to travel. Okay, so let me go through that again because I'm going to show you then how you can do that and how you can increase your club head speed. So I've got my live view set up right here. All right, I love using my live view when I'm doing my training here at the Academy with my students because it literally gives live view. It's instant feedback so the student can see what they're doing. So here's the first concept, is that basically what I'm saying is that the further away I can get my hands from that golf ball, the further I'm going to hit it. Okay, so when I swing the club back, my hands are only a certain distance from the golf ball, right? But if I get my hands a little bit further away from the golf ball, all things being equal, I'm going to hit that golf ball a little bit further. And if you look at some of these long drive competitions, you'll see swings that are pretty long. But more importantly, take a look at their hand position, right? How far away from their hands, how far away from the ball are their hands? And typically you'll see them quite a bit of ways. Now, how does that apply to you, the average golfer? Well, let me show you a couple of things that you can do in order to help you achieve that. So the first thing is you got to have movement. Most of us probably don't move and rotate like a long drive champion. So the first tip I want to give you is when you swing the club back, I want you to make sure that you're turning your hips, all right? So if my hips are, let's just say for sake of discussion, 0, all right, square. When you make a backswing, I want you to feel like your hips turn at least 45 degrees. Okay, and I think you're going to see a lot of that in a lot of the long drive champions too. There's a couple different ways to do that, a couple different theories on that. Some people say restrict the hip turn, rotate the upper body. Not a big fan of that unless you got incredible flexibility. But the first tip I want to give you is make sure that you're turning your hips. Let me go ahead and hit one. So I'm going to really rotate my hips. I've got the live view set up right in front of me so I can kind of see that, right? And I'm going to go ahead and hit it here. Okay, not too shabby for the first couple of swings in the morning. So tip number 1 is more hip turn. Now, when you turn your hips more, that allows you to turn your shoulders more and allows you to get your hands further away from that golf ball. Because remember, that's the secret tip that we're talking about here today. How can I get my hands as far away from that golf ball as possible? That gives me more time, more energy to create that club head speed. Now, let's talk about another way that we can do this. Okay? And this is probably my favorite way to do it. And I have to say this, hey, if you haven't already, hey, do me a favor, subscribe to our channel, US Golf TV. If you got questions, I love doing these videos for you and helping you play better golf. Ring the bell so you know when we got new videos coming out. But the other thing, and this is probably more geared towards maybe our older golfers, or experienced golfers as I like to call them, and that is the direction that you swing the golf club. All right, so let me show you what I mean by that. Well, if I swing the golf club, I'm going to turn my hips. We've already known that, right? So I turn my hips, but if I swing my hands what I call low and get them deep, all right? Deep meaning they're kind of low and behind me. So this is where the live view really comes in handy. So I've got the red line there across my shoulders. Well, if I rotate my hips 45 like we talked about, but I keep my hands low and deep behind me, notice where my hands are relative to that red line. Okay, they're almost equal to that. Okay, and I'm pretty much stretched out as much as I possibly can be. But if I take that same 45-degree hip turn, but I swing my hands more up, and what I like to, there, see that? Okay, see how high my hands are there? Right? I like to call that the vertical line swing. That's what we call it. That's our system, vertical line swing system. That's what we go for. And I give that to a lot of my students who need more club head speed. So, all right, here we go. So I'm set in here. I'm going to turn my hips 45 degrees. Okay, I'm going to hit 2 shots. So the first one, I'm going to keep my hands low. I want you to watch where they go relative to that red line. Okay, now that one is, in all honesty, that was not a very good golf swing. And I hit a little bit on the heel because one is that's not where I normally have my hands. But you could see when I did that how low my hands were. I didn't have much power. All right, so let me go ahead and do it again here. Now this one is going to be better because it's more natural for me. This is where I normally go. I'm set in here. I'm going to go 45, but my hands are going to work more up. See how high? Look at how high they are. I love that position. Okay, look at that. All right, here we go. I'm going to swing it straight back and more up. Get my hands as far away from that golf ball as I can. All right, that was definitely more solid. So when we're talking about distance and creating club head speed, a lot of factors. Of course, hitting the ball in the center of the face. Okay, that's important. We got tons of videos on how to do that. But speed is about strength and flexibility and coordination and athleticism. Of course it is. All of those things are important. We're not saying they're not important. But also, one of the real secrets that people very seldom talk about is getting your hands away from the ball. And so when we get set up here, next time you head to the golf course, what you're going to do is you're going to make sure you turn your hips. If you don't turn your hips, you're not going to turn your shoulders, you're not going to have any length to your swing. Get the hips turning. But the secret, all right, the real secret is vertical line. Get your hands working more here and get them working higher and up so you can get your hands as far away from that golf ball as possible. And if you do that and you hit the ball in the center of the face, you yourself, you might not be a long drive champion, but you're definitely going to see an increase in your club head speed.